Hello everyone, my name's Ian. Welcome back to my hobby YouTube channel in brief book and film reviews. So today I'd like to give you a book review of a book I read, must be about 22 years ago now. I read it in 1999, but it's still very relevant in my mind, of what I read. And it's always stuck with me. It's one of those books that in my mind, it's definitely within my top 10 books, and that had a profound effect on the way I thought about the political system in the north of Ireland after reading it. And I just wanted to come online and basically give a review to this fantastic book. And that this book was, first of all, this book is called Now Meekly Save My Time. It's about the H-box troubles from 1976 to 1991, where 10 political prisoners lost their lives by hunger strike. This book was compiled by J.B Campbell. It then had, I think it was an anniversary edition that came out where it was edited by J.B Campbell, Laurence McKeown, who was one of the hunger strikers, and Felim also. The publisher was Beyond the Pale, 1994, and the pages to this book was 267. It's one of those books. There's not obviously 267. It's not a lot of pages, but it's one of those books you really have to kind of just put it down and really have a think about, and you're trying to build up a picture all the time. With each page you're reading, that you're building up a picture all the time, so it would take you a bit longer than, say, like reading a novel or something. The genre would be a real life / political. Okay, so just in general, in regards to the book, it gives various accounts from prisoners such as Laurence McKeown, Big McFarlane, and many more in giving their accounts of what happened and stuff and that. I remember reading up about Big McFarlane's account. I think he wanted to be like a priest or something and that, and then he was he got involved with the struggle and that, because of the systematic abuse that he was getting, all the time. And it gives fantastic detailed various accounts from various different political prisoners on what they went through as well, and also from some who didn't partake in the hunger strike, or well, actually were going to partake in the hunger strike, but they didn't get quite beyond, like, say, 10 days and stuff. And that Laurence McKeown, I think, was one of those guys who actually did, but his mother like saved him or something. In the end, he was into, I don't know, I think maybe 60 days or something like that. So so it's basically just the 1976-1981 protest in the Maze prison was basically a knock-on from the civil rights protests in Derry, and Bloody Sunday and stuff like that. The Republican prisoners who were down as classified as IRA terrorists and that, and in Irish National Liberation Army now were classified as terrorists and that in the eyes of the British Parliament and stuff and that. And they basically wanted political status. Okay, so they wanted political status within the prison system. They didn't want to be known as the common criminal or the common thief or anything like that. They wanted political status, and that was it. So they had objectives and they had demands, and British system that basically turned around and said, no, we don't classify any paramilitary organizations, which I think we would have included also UDA and stuff like that, and the Ulster freedom fighters and stuff like that, and they refused to give any of them political status. So it went from, say, like not slopping out, the prisoners not slopping out, putting excrement on the walls and stuff like that, and basically refusing to do or reform to any kind of normal prison routine. They wanted also, just like they had the demands, like they wanted access to a certain amount of right material and stuff like that, while they're in there, but it wasn't being met. So they went from excrement on the walls to then going on to more serious, like the actual protest of hunger, that's the hunger protest and that, you know. Um, like I said, there's so much detail. I can go on and talk about it all day. It's a really amazing book. Like I said, it's a book that had a profound effect on the way I was thinking at the time and that, you know, and what it's saying. I actually got handed this book by a friend of mine who was actually English, and he actually came up to me. He said, "You know what? I never really believed it. You know, I never really believed when I used to watch." The stories on the BBC and stuff like that. I knew there was something up. You know, why were these people fighting? You know, they weren't fighting for no reason and that. And he said, "This is a fantastic book, Ian. You're an Irishman. I would like you to read it." So, you know, I said, "Thanks very much." I picked it up and I read it, and I'm glad that he gave it to me because it was a fantastic book and that. So it just goes to show as well that not everyone, even though England was governed at the time by Margaret Thatcher, who was known as seen as a bit of a tyrant and that, you know, dictator and that. I don't think she was very much liked up the north between Yorkshire and Newcastle and places like that with coal miners and stuff. It just goes to show that a lot of English people as well, they weren't anti-Irish and that. There was a lot of anti-Irish sentiment, but there's a lot of people out there who are very sympathetic to Irish people and that, you know, and the struggle and that, and you know, it just goes to show like not everyone was against Republican prisoners at that time. So yeah, so I just wanted to come on and just say it was a fantastic book. It was a great read. Some of the bits that I really enjoyed in it at the time would have been when you know, the spirit of Bobby Sands, when he was talking about opportunities and stuff. You know, like you couldn't put that man down. You really couldn't. That, you know, he was like a, I wouldn't say hardcore. Some people would say hardcore. He was just a very vibrant Republican. He believed in you know, what he was fighting for, and why wouldn't he? You know, I mean, he grew up, I think it was, with his mother and I think it was two sisters or something, and you know, he was a young boy at the time and that, and he was getting abuse at the door, and he couldn't do anything but try to defend himself against sectarianism, mate. So he was one of those guys who just wanted to have like his civil rights for himself and that, and unfortunately he could have gone one way in one life, but the situation of tyranny brought him down the other road and stuff. So yeah, just a fantastic book. As I said, some of the stuff that I remember reading up about it was like how they would have like different nights scheduled on the landing, on the prison landings and stuff. So they'd have like a singing night, you know, and I think I can remember reading up there saying Bobby Sands was singing or something on the landing, and Joe McDonald told him to, you know, pack fucking in and that, you know. Such was Bobby Sands' vocal cords. They weren't the best in that, you know, or at least Joe McDonald didn't think they were anyway. And also like the following night after that they would have like a quiz, you know, and then the following night after that they would have like Guelga lessons, you know, Irish language lessons. So you could kind of read up, and the camaraderie of it was fantastic. Picture illustrated as well, so you'd have some pictures in there also. And yeah, just that's basically it really. I can go on about this all day, but I'm not going to spoil it. And that's 8 minutes already. I don't want to ruin it for anyone that, you know. It's just a really fantastic book and that, and it touches on everything and that, you know. As a civil rights, as someone, you know, if you're a human rights activist or someone who would fight for someone's human rights and that, you don't have to be Irish to be, for your blood to be boiling to read this. You know, it could be, you could be reading up again about Venezuelans or Mexicans or Estonians and stuff, and that their political system and the hardship that they went through, prisoners, and what the screws kind of put the Republican prisoners through was pure torment and that, you know, dragging them, kicking them, beating, and so there's a couple of films also out on them. I think it was Somewhat a Son or something, and another one called Hunger. Um, I'd find it hard to watch them type of films, you know, without boiling up and that. But all in all, I just wanted to come on and see and just basically give reference to this as well. I remember actually also reading in one of the books that I put out there for references, Johnny Adair. During reading that book, there was I think there was an incident where they were in a loyalist club or something. There was a couple of different paramilitary units, paramilitary organizations, and that, and one of them, there was something like a news flash on TV in regards to one of the Republicans was going on a protest or something, and one of the units from one of the paramilitary organizations turned around and started making sectarian, jibes and stuff and that. And then another unionist got up and punched him in his face or something and that, and said he's more of a man than you will ever be, a piece of, or something and that. So it wasn't all kind of like there was an understanding there between like Republicans and some unionists and that, and of what was going on. And in the end, Bobby Sands was elected as a member of the British Parliament and stuff and that. So I can go on all day about this, but I'm not going to. I just wanted to come on and give reference to this book. It's a very highly detailed, brilliantly written by the author, and the accounts are fantastic. They really are a gem of a book. It really is, and it's definitely up in my top 10 books of all time that I read, and I've read a lot of books. So that's it. So I just wanted to give a reference about that. There's a couple of other books I'm going to be skating out, processing on my timeline there with the books and stuff. I'll be covering one on Biddy Wright, and I'll be covering one also on the secret history of the IRA. And I think I probably read a few more as well. I'll give a review to along the way. So that's basically it. Hope everyone's doing very well. We're staying looking forward to Christmas and stuff and that. I know a lot of people are on the down and out at the moment that with the COVID situation, that, but try to keep your spirits up, stay blessed, stay gratuitous, and I look forward to seeing you again in the next video. Have a nice weekend. Take care.